Okay, I think we're good. Buddy, I'm just going to make sure that I got everybody. All right, I think we're doing good. Well, hi everybody, good morning. So, I am here today. Unfortunately, my class got canceled, and that's okay. You know, I said it before and I said it again. My entrepreneurial journey is raw and it comes with ups and downs, and that's okay. And I am here to continue to keep moving forward. And so, got the opportunity to come live here and bring you a little tutorial. It's something that I'm not an expert on, and is foundation paper piecing, which is a technique used in quilting. And I am bound and determined to feel comfortable with it, and if I see patterns that I love, I would love to adventure to them and be able to create them. So I was browsing and continuing to browse and actually didn't find anything that I liked. So I designed a very simple um, block. And in the description of the video, I put kind of like the link to my website where you can download the template. So that's block number 1, and this would be block number 2. And I found these very beautiful purple fabrics. So I'm using, and this is Moda Grunge. So we're going to be using these ones for the flowers that to block. So we're going to be making, hold on, because the camera is the other side. So we're going to be making one block with this as the petal. So I'm going to show you in the block themselves. So this half square rectangle is a petal, and that's another petal. So that's kind of what makes the block. And then here you have the background, 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 background. And then the square in the middle is kind of um, and I just realized that there's a mistake on it. Oh boy. Well, you want to say A2, 3. So I will correct that. So it's A2, A3. So then we're going to put A1, A2, and these numbers is the way that you're going to be adding the fabrics to, in that order. So I'm going to and I will correct the file to make sure it is correct and sign it up again. So that's kind of like the way that it goes. But I believe the very first one is correct. Yes, that one is correct. It goes square 1, square 2, square 3 over here, square 4, square rectangle 5, and so on and so forth. So those are the blocks that we're going to make. So this one is correct. I will correct the second one and upload the correct one once I'm done here. And I am going to, also what we're going to do is that we're going to cut. So for the very middle of the center of the block, I am going to use this very fun fabric, which I think it will kind of tie up all of the different colors that we have going on. And so I'm just going to press my fabrics, and um, this pattern or this block is perfect for scraps that you have laying around. You can make it like really, really scrappy because you don't need a lot of fabrics to that. One thing that I figure out is that it's better for you to cut your fabrics bigger than what you need, because once you sew them in there and they're not big enough, hi, hi, hi. And then another tip that I figure out, and also like reading and like watching videos, is that um, um, that um, if you use a very small stitch length when you're doing that, when you're sewing it, then it makes ripping the paper so much easier. So what I'm gonna do here is that I'm just gonna cut a 3-inch strip, and then we're gonna cut 4 3-inch squares. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm gonna bring my camera a little bit down so you can see a little bit more of my working area. And so I kind of even that up, and I'm just cutting 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna cut 3 inches. All right, and then I'm gonna put this fabric aside. And then for the center, you literally need scraps. You can get, you need so little for that little square in the middle that you don't need a lot of fabric. Unless you would like to make a full quilt using the block. And I'm cutting 4 because I want to make 4 blocks. And so now I pre-iron this, but transportation always makes them a little bit crinkly. So I'm just giving it a quick press here. Oh, and that's why it's not really pressing. It wasn't hot enough. And for the fabrics themselves, for the flower, we're gonna need rectangles of this darker fabric. So I'm going to be getting, I want to cut them big enough, so I'm going to cut a 4-inch strip. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So just make sure I have plenty of it. And then I'm going to open this up, and then I'm going to cut 1 rectangle out of that measures 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna just cut 2 that are 6 because I want to make 2 blocks out of that color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm gonna make two that are 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like so. Need to be able to make the block. One, two, three, four, five, six, 8. Oh no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I cut it wrong. Oopsies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because I am going to need the 8. You have any questions? Just feel free. And then now, we're gonna go on the background. I'm just going to press them. So this one is going to be my background, and then this other one is going to be my other flower color, because I'm gonna have two different flower colors because there's two different blocks. So two blocks are gonna make with this one. And then I'm just gonna try to cut to make this fast. Okay. And I'm gonna cut another 4-inch strip. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And so now for this one, we need a 3-inch square. So I'm gonna cut a 3-inch square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 1, 2, 3. Well, there's a, and so that one is gonna be a 3 to 4-inch rectangle. That's fine. You don't need to trim it. You can just put it with the other 3-inch squares that we just cut, which are these ones right here. Oh, hold on, right there. And then we're gonna cut. And then now we just need 6 inches rectangle. So that's what we're gonna cut. It's okay. I can just cut them like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. We need 1, 2, 3 for one block. then we need 3 for the other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's plenty big. Perfect. Six. And the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we get just a little bit left. All right, from a strip we get to make 2 blocks. But I'm gonna need another square. And that's not gonna measure. I'm gonna have to cut a little strip more because we need another 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And then I'm gonna cut at the edge rectangle because I need 2 of those. 1, 2, 3. There we go. I'm gonna leave this one here, and then I'm gonna cut one that's 8 and one that's 6, but then I need 2 that's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 and then 1 that's 6. 6. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now we are going to recap. We're going to cut of each contrasting color to make 2 blocks. You're going to need 2 of the 4x8 rectangles, 2 of the 4x6, and then you need of the background. You're going to need 2 of the 4x3. Well, actually, we're going to need 4 to make 4 blocks, and then we're going to need 3 of the 4x6, 6. 6 of the 4x6, because you're gonna need 3 to make each block, right? And then your squares. And so that's how we're gonna do. So we're going to go and start with 1 block. So we're gonna first start making the one that's labeled correctly. So normally what people do with the berry or that I've seen is that they like to kind of fold the lines. So what I did is that I just went and kind of folded where I'm going to be sewing. As you can see, I'm just folding the lines where I knew I was going to be sewing, just to kind of give you a guide of where you're going to be placing I do not have a light box, but there's ways that you can get away with it without having a nice lit up area helps too. So I'm just gonna folding that, and I'm missing that one right here. So all the lines, and then the big one. Okay, so we have our block, right? So the very first that we're going to place is that fabric in the center that says A1. So what you do is that you're gonna look it through. Unfortunately, because I printed double-sided, but what you're gonna try to do is kind of take your square and look at that square and make sure that it's like right in the middle and that it covers all of the edges. And what some people suggest is that very first fabric, you kind of just put a little glue on it to kind of help you keep it in place. And so that's how it's gonna look like. You're gonna put it in the back of your square. So here's your square. You're gonna put it in the back, right side up. And then you're gonna take your fabric number 2, which that's the one that's above, right? And this is where we have our 3" by 4" rectangles, and then we're gonna place it this way, right sides together. And now you're gonna place it right sides together. And now you're gonna see that you cover this area and that you're gonna have enough fabric to cover that square that goes all the way up. So I'm just going to kind of move the fabric so that I know when I stitch, I'm covering maybe I do this way. Yeah, so that I'm covering that right there. So that's what I will do. So I put it where the long place is long, and so when I stitch it, it's gonna cover my square. So if you can see in the back, it's covered. That number 2, the way that I place the fabric is covered. So I'm just going to do that. You can pin in place. I don't have any pins, but that's fine. I'm just moving things around with my leftover fabrics. And then I'm gonna move my machine, and then we're gonna sew, keep yours together, and then we're gonna put that in the machine and we're gonna stitch right where do we have this one. I'm gonna show you. We're gonna go and take those fabrics and we're gonna stitch right on that line, right there. So that's where I'm gonna stitch. So I'm going to put down. I suggest that you lower your stitch length as low as you can. If you go a little past that line that you are sewing, there's no issue about it. And then you just trim your threads. Working with paper is a little clunky. So I have a somewhat organized mess. And then now what we do is that we're going to just press those fabrics up, and we're going to press them very nicely. And it's okay if you press with paper, that's fine. It's not going to burn. Well, I guess be careful with the tint. It did get into my iron, but that's just because I had that. Normally this part should be blanked, but it was getting into my iron, but that's okay. That was my fault. So now when you press it, they say that I had this at a 1/4 inch, and what this does is you're gonna trim your seam allowance. So what you're gonna do is, that's the reason why we kind of folded the ledge right there. So we're gonna make sure that your fabrics are out of the way so you don't cut them. Tell me how I know. And then you're gonna put your at a 1/4. This one has like a lip, like a ledge. And so what it does is that it just kind of gets snug in there, and you're going to cut your XX. So this way you have a perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance, right? So that's how it's looking. Then we're going to add number 3. So we're gonna add one of these into here. So I'm gonna put it right sides together, but I'm gonna make sure that when I'm sewing it, it's gonna cover all of it and it will. So I'm just going to line it up right there. And if you wanna pin, you can pin, but now we're going to like go sew right on that line right there. So I'm making sure my fabrics don't shift. I'm gonna bring pins because that will make my life much easier. And now I cut my threads like that. Then what I do is that I'm gonna press my fabric out just like that. I'm gonna try to stay out of the ink so it doesn't get in my iron. Don't press with ink on the paper, it will get in your iron. Lesson learned. And then you don't want that on your fabrics. But it's what I have right now, so I can just go print other ones. I'm in the studio, I don't have a printer. And so that's how it's looking. All right. And then once again, we're gonna go and we're gonna fold the paper in and use our 1/4 seam ruler. And we're going to just make sure we have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So our rug is nice and trim. There we go. And so now we're gonna use our color fabric, and we're gonna make one of these ones, and we're gonna use the smaller one. And we are going to place that right here. So that's gonna be our sewing area. So we're gonna place it right here, right sides together this way, because then we're gonna sew right there. Then when we're gonna and we're gonna sew it, and it's going to look like so. So we're going to just make sure that we have plenty of room and we have plenty of fabric, so there's no issue. All right, hold on, I'm gonna bring some pins because this is getting a little ridiculous. I normally don't use pins, but with this, we must. Otherwise, things are gonna get a little bit crazy. So we're just gonna pin all fabrics together so they don't move around on you. There we go. Use as many pins as you think you're gonna need. Now I'm gonna just do that, and I'm gonna sew right on that line. All right, and I'm cutting my threads, and then I'm going to iron. Then I'll take my pin out, and I'm going to iron that fabric out, and that's how it's looking. Then I'm gonna just press this a bit. There we go. Isn't it looking so cute? It's so pretty. Now I'm going to once again fold my fabrics. Fold that paper. Use my other quarter. If you don't have another quarter, you can do it with a traditional ruler. Just measure the quarter of an inch, and then you just trim it right there. This one is just makes it easy because it kind of just like hugs and it doesn't slit. It just moves and it makes it very accurate. Right? And so now we're going to be adding that very tall one, this one right here, where we're gonna sew right on that big line or vertical line that goes there. So we need one of our tall rectangles. And so the way that we're putting it right on top of all of our fabrics, making sure it covers all of it, or move it just to make sure that you have plenty all around. Yeah. And then that's how it's gonna look. You're gonna flip it over. And then I'm gonna pin again so that my fabrics don't move around on me. It's rather a very quick block and kind of satisfying trying to figure it out together. So I'm just gonna go and now sew on this very fine line, which is named number 5. So I'm just gonna go right there. There we go. And then I'm just cutting. Right. And I'm folding. I'm gonna make sure I get a quarter of an inch trim. take those pins out, and then we got that, and I'm gonna just iron that very nicely. So this is so far what is looking. Now what we just need to add is the background colors to just make the shape of the flower, the pointy flower or the tulip. And so now what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to and now we kind of have to play around. Making sure that we get the way that we place it is going to cover the fabric. Yeah. So I think that's good. And then I'm just going to pin that right there so it doesn't move. Now I'm going to just sew that right there. Oh no, there was no thread. We made the holes but not a stitch. Oh boy. So that's not done. This one right here. There we go. We try again. Now we're gonna sew here again. There we go. Yeah, I think it's perfect. And so that's kind of how it looks. You see, we're making that little peak right there. So now we're just going to, before pressing, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna cut the 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we got all of that extra. And that's how we're looking. And I know sometimes it seems excessive with foundation paper piecing, but trust me, it's better it does waste a bit of fabric, but the results, I mean, like I'm loving those points. It's almost impossible to get those perfect points like this with traditional piecing. And it just makes it so much easier. So now we are going to use the last one like that, and then it's going to go this way. And then we're gonna make a point, and that's gonna look just like that. Isn't it beautiful? So now we're just going to paint, making sure we have enough fabric that when we go to that line, yep, we're good. I'm gonna just put a pen through so that my fabric doesn't move. Okay. Oh, what happened here? It didn't really sew. That was odd. Okay, so we're gonna try it again. Let's see if that worked better. Yeah, that did. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is that I am going to do the 1/4 inch. And we got all of this left over. And look, we got a first flower. That's so adorable. Now after you have it all said and done, now what we're gonna do is that we're just gonna trim it all around at the 1/4 inch, which we already have everything nice and marked. So I'm just going to follow. And I'm cutting right around that solid line. And just to keep the block nice and straight. And once you have it all trimmed, here is our block. Didn't it come out super cute? That is fantastic. And then what you do is that you just rip the paper. Because we used a very small stitch length, the paper just kind of comes off on its own. You see? It's just very easy to take it off. And you just rip it off like that. And that way. Like that. And then we remove this one because we use a little glue. But look, it just removes just that. And then you look at your scraps, whichever you think that you wanna save, and the rest you discard, clean it all up. And that's perfect. And if you want to give your blog, I'm gonna move my iron a little bit more here. If you want to give it a little bit more press, I did starch my fabrics before starting. So what I do is I'm just going to wet my block, nice so. And then that's really going to help it be very, very, very flat. And just, if you have a sewing clapper, that's perfect. And that could help you get your block very, very, very flat. But I feel like a good steaming, just some wet your block and just put your really hot iron on it, and it should help with a very, very, very flat block. And so that's how you construct your block number 8. So this is the one that we just made. And then now we're gonna make the other block, which is the one that we got all messed up, but that's okay. I will correct that. Now I don't know where I did with my paper sheets. They're right here. I'll make sure that I make the corrections, and now they're corrected into that this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'll make sure that I'll make those corrections, but that's how we're gonna now do this one, because it has a different orientation. So we're going to make, and so the goal for the blog is for you to have 2 of this, 2 of this, and then you have an inch sashing all over, and that's what makes your block, and it looks beautiful. Like if you see in the download, you're going to be able to see the entire block. So that's what you're hoping to get, that's that. And you get the sashing, and I chose like a very dark purple so that it would really pop the flowers, and then it will just frame it very nicely. So then you will have a sashing, and then just a sashing outside. You could leave it as it is, or you could make a quilt or a bigger block out of it, up to you. But we're gonna make the second one so you see different ones. So this one is not printed, so we're gonna be able to show that much better. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to fold on all of the different places where we're gonna have a seam. Oh, I see someone is joining us. Welcome, welcome. I don't know where you're tuning in from, but thank you for joining me. And that one here. And I'm gonna just show. And then this diagonal line here. like so. So this is kind of how you see all of the different lines, all right? So this square right here is your fabric 1. And I put it also that you could put the color of fabric so that you kind of keep yourself organized. You can do that. So I'm going to grab one of my squares, which I have one right here, right? And with a glue stick, this is just a regular Elmer's glue. I'm going to put a little dot in the middle, like so, right there. That's my square number 1. Then I'm putting that right there in the middle, right? Then now I'm grabbing my rectangle that I cut, right? And so the rectangle is gonna go, that it has to cover this number 2. And so I'm gonna put it right sides together like that, right? And when I sew it, I have to see that it covers all of my square from the back, which it does. And so what I'm checking, that's what I'm checking. So I'm putting this right there, and I'm gonna turn it over, and then we'll pin. And then I'm gonna go and stitch right on that line. That's my first stitch line. Okay. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just fold this with my 8¼ ruler. I'm going to just trim my excess to make sure that I have 1/4 inch. And then I'm gonna press, take the pin off, and then I'm gonna press my rectangle open. Right now, it's not printed in the back, so it's not going to damage my iron. Silly me. Hey, how are we doing on time? I think we should be good. And so that one, then that's no. Okay, so then we're going to add this rectangle up here. And so that one's gonna go this way, right sides together. I'm gonna press it. That's a 6-inch rectangle, so I'm just gonna press it right, put it right sides together right there, right, that it covers all of it. And then that if I open it, it's gonna cover all of my block, which is going to, that's why when we're working with foundation paper piecing, I learned the hard way that it's better for you to have bigger pieces. So there is a little bit of waste. It's just how it is. That's just how these are just. But those points that you create are just incredible. Right. And then, uh-oh. You see? You gotta be very careful. I made a mistake because, and that's the problem when you make a mistake in foundation paper piecing. It's because the stitches are so tiny. You have a hard time taking them off, but we'll get it. I'm gonna show you the mistake. My fabric folded, so this is why pinning is so important, making sure that you're washing your fabric. I got comfortable thinking that I knew what I was doing, and there we go. Got a mistake. And that's fine. There we go. And now I'm going to just sew on it again, just making sure that I get that fold. And now make sure that my fabric is nice and flat so it doesn't fold. And then do that again. Now we got it. It's all good. So now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna fold the paper, and then we're gonna do the 1/4 inch. I add my 1/4 inch seam allowance to it. Take that pin out, and now I'm gonna press it up. And there we go. And then we press it up. Wonder if I'm just the only messy creator. I know that Jenny always talks about that. When she's creating, she's also like all over the place, and I feel that I'm like that way too. I relate so much to her videos. It's just so beautiful the way that she just talks about them, and like it's like you're there sewing with her, and I just admire that so much. Okay, so we did that, and then now we gotta add that vertical one right here. So what we do is that we take a rectangle and we just place it right sides together. Another tip is that as we already trimmed this as a 1/4 inch, we can use that as our guide and align it, so that way when we turn it, we know that we're gonna catch right that, and that already has the 1/4 inch. So we don't have to trim that part and save us a trim. Just little tips and tricks that I have somewhat noticed or catch while I'm sewing the block. Making sure that I'm keeping my 1/4 inch. I think someone got into the office. All right. Caught me by surprise. And all right. We get in there. And so now, as you can see, we added the vertical one right here. And so, as I said, this one should have the 1/4 inch, but we can check. This one is a little trimming. It's a little bit short there, but that's okay. And then we're gonna just iron right there. And just keep pressing it so it gets nice and flat. like so. Oh, I made a mistake. Yep, I needed to add this color fabric to it, not the background fabric to it. Oh boy. You see? This is why I put the fabric key, because it's very easy for you to mess up. But here you're learning with me so that you don't do what I do. So I'm here trying to go really fast and messing up the steps. When I'm live, I feel pressure. And it's like, we have a certain amount of time. And I just shouldn't look at it. But it's not impossible to seam wrap on paper piecing. But it's not the most pleasant thing to do, especially when you're live. How many mistakes have I made? As I said, I don't know why I'm feel like, why am I here teaching if I'm making so many mistakes? I guess I'm keeping it real. Having a serious case of this imposter syndrome right now, but that's okay. I'm fighting through it. Once I see my blog nice and pretty, I'll feel better. We're just going to slowly but surely, yeah. I feel like, oh, it's coming fast so quickly. Not. It's all right. Part of the process. This is again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I want to be comfortable with foundation paper piecing, and I still have a long ways to go. But designing the blog was fun. So like, I want to be doing that more, and the only way that I can get better at it is practicing. And I guess sharing the embarrassing journey with you. Hey, talk about keeping it real, right? That's that's the way to do it. All right. Okay, so let's try this again. All right. So, I have way more than that, but I'm just going to measure it. Make sure the covers all that is right size together again. My space is already holy because I'm using a very like small stitch, but that's okay. We're just gonna go over it. Making sure this is nice and smooth. You see? The fabric kind of folded on me. Making sure it's not folding on you. So do that. And then I'm gonna go right on that. And so. Hey, you see? Everything has a solution, right? And so now we're just going to cut my 1/4 of an inch that way. And that is the color that's supposed to go there. We made it. Oh, that's so pretty. Oh my God. My favorite color is blue, but man, these purples, I guess purples and blues go together. The same color family. I'm not a color expert, not Tula Pink. Haven't gone to school for it. And now we put the long rectangle on the bottom. So we're gonna put right sides together right there. Make sure everything is covered. And then we pin, because if we don't pin, what's gonna happen? Our fabrics are going to fold. And then I'm gonna be sad because I'm gonna have to unpick. And I don't wanna unpick anymore. Am I good? I'm hoping. Okay. You know what? I think I'm gonna move this a little bit more so that way I do have enough fabric to cover my other square, my other rectangle right there. There. Then I'm gonna go and go all the way through that. Oh, something was wrong with my machine. Thank you for your patience, everybody, while I figure all this out. There we go. I don't know what happened here, but I have a redness down below. So I'm just going to trim it and I'm gonna sew right on it again. So that way I don't have to unpick, but I don't want all this redness all over me, all over my work. So I'm just going to kind of cut that and once again go on that. Let's see how it goes. Moving on to that. There we go. Okay, I think we're gonna. My learner machine is very temperamental. She is like, I don't know you. You don't love me. You only use me on the weekends. You need to be using me more. But unfortunately, I can only come to the studios on Saturdays. So she will only get love from me on Saturdays. And she'll continue to be a little temperamental. All right. There we go. So now we got the two colors Yay! And now we're gonna make the peaks for the tulips so that they look like tulips. And then now we have two purpley tulips. And they're gonna look gorgeous. And so then you will need to make just one more of that and one more of, oh, what did I do with my finished block? There we go. And one more of this one, and then you're set. But we're gonna finish this one and we'll call it a day. So now we're gonna create these little peaks right there. And so that's how they're gonna go. Is it gonna go this way? I'm confused now. I'm gonna go this way. Yep. And then they're gonna go like so. Very good. So I'm gonna lower it a bit more. Make sure you cover that. Make sure I cover that. Right, cover that and that. Very good. And so now we're gonna fold it and we're going to just pin to make sure that we are covering everything we need, like that. Otherwise, all fabrics are going to fold as you're seeing. So we make sure that's pinned like that. And then we're going to sew right on that line right there. Perfect. She's regret and she's oh, okay, whatever. You see, that's why you have to be careful. It folded. I'm gonna leave it like that just for the sake of time. But now we're going to trim a half an inch, no, a quarter of an inch. Like that. And then look, we got our first peak right there. Isn't that cute? Make sure you're pinning and watching that fabric underneath. It's hard to see it because we're working with paper. Plus it feels clunky, confusing. All of that is while we get used to the way that it's constructed, just because it's so different. So I truly did want to show you my struggles and like make it real that it's possible for you to make such a cute, simple block, but it's gonna take some adjustments, and that's okay. We just have to keep at it, but we'll get through it. And then just make sure that you fold carefully, and then you pin. Pin is gonna be your friend with this. I can't stress that enough because fabric is going to fold because you're sewing over the paper. Normally when we're sewing with fabrics, we're seeing our fabrics. So we don't really know what's going on. So taking a pic constantly of what's going on the bottom is gonna really help you, so your fabrics don't get all messed up like it has happened to me. So you just gotta be really careful. And if you need to double check, triple check, do what you need to do to make sure you're successful with it. And then now we take those pins, fabric did not fold. Now what we need to do is we're gonna fold that fabric and then we're going to create a 1/4 inch right there. And then you have those leftovers. Now you're going to press your block very nicely. And then now we're just going to trim the block on that very solid line that is in there. So I'm gonna do that right now. And so that already includes your seam allowance of 1/4 inch to add all of the blocks together. So you decide what you do with all of your fabrics. And here is your other tulip. Isn't that super cute? So where did my other block go? Oh, right here. So you are going to be making 2 of these and 2 of these ones. And then again, you just kind of wrap things around. And the small stitches just helps with like a stitch, ripping all the paper apart. I use copy paper normally, like normal. And that's it. And so then you have 2 of the blocks, and then you just make 1 more of each and put on the sashing, and then you have these wonderful quilts. So I hope you enjoyed these little, I guess, make with me this super cute tulip block or flower, or however you want to call it, is perfect for the spring. And so here in my neck of the woods, all the trees are blooming, all of the flowers are growing, and it's just beautiful to see. So I hope you truly enjoyed, and I'll see you soon. Stay very crafty and can't wait for you to make a lot of these blocks. Bye bye.